You're going to love today's podcast with Amy Slate. She has a website called The Breakup Broker, and her specialty, her niche, is helping divorced couples go through that transition of selling their homes. And that's the path that she's decided to take her real estate business. So she's got some great insights of who would make sense to do this, how to do it, how to create your circle of peers that you need to have, your team. So stay tuned and check it out.
Welcome to Real Estate Riches, where Kathy Byrnes empowers realtors to achieve the success they've always dreamed of. Starting her career at 55, Kathy built a thriving business that offers the freedom of time and financial independence. And now she's sharing her journey to help others do the same. Whether new to the industry or looking to level up, this channel is your hub for proven strategies, inspiring stories, and the tools you need to grow your real estate business. Join Kathy each week to explore global opportunities, successful systems, and expert insights to take your career to the next level. Get comfortable, pick a video, and start learning. Your journey to success starts now.
Hey everybody, it's Kathy Byrnes here with Real Estate Riches, and today my guest is Amy Slate. Really excited to have her on. She's out of Boston, and her niche is divorcing couples and helping them through it. So hey Amy, glad to have you on.
Thanks so much.
Yeah, I'm excited, and I'm going to give in full confession, because this is not the first time, if you follow me, that I have done this. I forgot to hit record. So who knows what's going to come out on this one. Hey, you know what? This is real. And we were talking about social media, which we'll get back to, but this is real life. So tell us a little background on you, Amy.
You bet. So I've been in real estate for 8 years now. I am based in Boston, Massachusetts. I serve all of Greater Boston. I'm also licensed in Florida and service clients there as needed. I love JetBlue is my best friend, and we fly back and forth a lot.
Oh, wow.
Before that, however, I was in education for almost 20 years. I was a middle school teacher, and I'm convinced that if you can manage a classroom of 25, 13-year-olds, you can manage a real estate transaction.
Oh my gosh, I guess. That's incredible. So how did you get into this particular niche?
Funny, not funny story. Last spring, I was surprised with a divorce from my soon-to-be ex-husband. And I had this oh shit moment. And I kind of packed up my life in Florida and moved back to Massachusetts and was doing some soul searching and said, okay, you are the only paycheck now. You've got to build your business. You know what you're doing, but like, let's figure out a way to really level things up. And as I was thinking through this, I'm like, okay, there's a ton of agents in Boston. How do I differentiate myself?
Right.
And what is that niche? The riches are in the niches, they always say, which I hate because it's pronounced niche, not niche, but you'll never take the French teacher out of me. So I just was thinking about it and having this moment of like the whole turn lemons into lemonade thing. And I was like, you know what? I got hit with this divorce, but I'm not going to let it derail me. I'm actually going to take it to power me to level up and figure out what that next, Amy 2.0 looks like and acts like, does business like.
Yeah.
And, selfishly, it's something that was kind of near and dear to me. It was something I was super passionate about because I'd been through it and I felt the emotions and I understand the stress. And there were so many moments where I'm going through the divorce stress and handling some personal real estate transaction stress. And I'm like, this is a lot for me, and I do this for a living.
Yeah.
So, for other women or men or anyone separating or divorcing, going through this who doesn't do real estate, I can only imagine the like exponential amounts of stress that real estate transactions on top of divorce happen. So
wow,
I'd lean into it and make it my niche.
Yeah. So that's how we say it, niche. Yeah.
Niche,
was I saying it wrong?
Both ways are correct. And you've been saying niche, but
Okay, good.
That's saying the riches are in the niches. Is the saying in the business.
Niche, yes. Okay, good. So, all right. So were you licensed in Massachusetts when you moved up there?
Yep. I'm born and raised in New England. So this is where I started my business in Massachusetts. This is where I've always been. I did a short pandemic stint in Florida for a couple of years we were here, we were stuck inside. It was cold. We were like, let's go to Florida. So we went to Florida. And then when my personal world imploded, I said, I got to go back home. I need to be around my people and, back to focusing on my Boston business really hardcore.
Yeah. Well, that's great. And you're still doing it in 2 different states.
Yep.
Wow. That's impressive, girl. All right. So tell me, we talked earlier about having an army of support for you because just as you said, in this particular niche that you're doing, you need different qualified people who understand that as well. So you took
For
it to a
sure.
whole new level.
Yeah, I mean, if you think as agents, we have all of our trusted professionals. We've got the inspector, we've got our stager, our photographer, our declutterer. We've got all these
Yeah.
people that we refer to our clients, right? Um, Being in the divorce niche is no different. There's just another bucket of professionals that you need to have. I've spent the last 9 months really building a strong network of divorce attorneys, divorce coaches, forensic accountants. I'm trying to think who else is in my world. Divorce lending professionals,
Mm,
a lot of professionals and kind of people that if you didn't go through a divorce or know about divorce, you wouldn't even know existed. Like a forensic accountant was not a person I ever knew existed in this world until I needed one.
right, right.
And
Makes
I think
sense.
as a real estate agent, when your clients are looking to you for expertise, referrals, all that, having those trusted professionals, just like the home inspector, but here's my forensic accountant,
Yeah.
that helps them, that saves them a hassle and a headache to be able to say, like, here is somebody I know and I trust, and I'm passing them to you.
Right. Well, and I think they don't know what they don't know that they need too. I think I saw on your website that you had a booklet that they could download. Like, is that a different points? Like, here's what you need to think about?
That one is specifically kind of around like if you need to sell your home, like here's the kind of stuff you need to think about
Okay,
because,
okay.
but that's a whole nother thing. Like, as real estate agents, we're like, okay, you've got to prep it for sale, you got to do some fix ups, maybe do some curb appeal. But when you're divorcing, you're not necessarily like raring to go for the sale. So there's a whole
Yeah,
emotional piece that I talk about, like separating yourself from the emotions and taking those memories and just being able to like mentally prepare for like, this isn't going to be my family home anymore,
right.
you know?
I had a client this year, no, last year, and it was a multi-million-dollar house. They'd custom built it.
Mm.
They'd raised their kids there, and he wanted the divorce, not her. Both successful in their own rights. And their house was very full of family memorabilia. I mean, walls of pictures of the kids, almost like they were adorned. And you could tell, well, she said to me right on the very first day, I don't want to sell this house. I'm like, well, do you need me here? I didn't know initially that they were going through a divorce.
Mm.
And then, because they didn't share that right off the bat, that's an
Mm.
important piece that I
Yep.
think clients need to do. And so, anyway, she kept sabotaging all the showings.
Yeah.
And now our listing is running out, and I think we had 6 days left to go. And I said, I'd like to meet with you guys and sit down and have a conversation. And I said, you fought me on the price. You've resisted the showings. I said, I need to know, are you selling this house or not?
Mhm.
And she said, yes, we're selling the house. I said, then I need you. And I pointed right to her. I said, you need to stop sabotaging the showings. I can't get anybody in to see the house. And
Yeah.
she goes, well, I have the dogs. I said, you also have pet sitters that you've been paying for as you go to work. You can make
Mhm.
this happen. I need to know that you're going to do this because this is something that I'm investing in for you. We're a partnership. I said, I need your support if you still want to hire me. I said, we got to decide, are we going to even go forward? We've got 6 days left on the deal. I'm going to need it extended, but I need to know you're going to play fair. And I didn't do it like I was accusing her in a sense, but I was being firm
Yeah.
because I needed her to understand I can't sell it. You want to move to another state. Well, you can't move to another state. You got to detach, like you said.
Yeah. Yep.
But because that's not my niche, I wasn't as soft maybe as I could have been. I related more to him because he
Yeah.
was more level headed for the whole thing. Well, he wanted it, but he wasn't bad mouthing her. They were respectful of each other. That was a joy. But she didn't want to sell that house. It was painful. But once we got it under contract and now we're packing things up, and now I had someone who was the packer. I said,
Mm.
this was, I think, an 8,000 square foot home. I said, listen, this is going to be emotional for you. Do you want me to bring in a packer who is she's soft spoken, she's
Mm.
really very soothing, and help you with all this packing? And she was. And so she hired her, and that packer really helped move that whole
Mhm.
transition. So I remember that for me, because that's stressful for a lot of people, whether they're going through
Yeah.
divorce or not. But you take it to a whole new level. She invited the packer the owner of the company, out to her place in Virginia, all kinds of stuff. I said,
Yeah.
great. I'm glad you made
Yeah.
friends.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know? So it is an emotional time. I'm going to think that a little clearer myself as I go forward of other people to bring in like that.
I mean, think about just our kind of average clients. It's
Yeah.
emotional. The buying, the selling, the stress, I didn't get the house, I got the house, all the things. It's super emotional. And these are people who like have no other life trauma going on.
Yeah.
So add in someone who is surprised by divorce, doesn't want to sell their house, has 20 years of memories in this house. It is
Yeah.
just like a pressure cooker waiting to just pop,
Yeah.
you know?
I'm wondering, would you intertwine someone who had a death in the family, whose spouse died?
Yeah. I mean, any
Thinking that
sort
would
of
fit.
separation, right? Where you are for something that's out of your control. Because typically
Yeah.
when we meet with the sellers, it's like we've decided we have to downsize or we need more space for our family. Like we've made a conscious decision that we are
Right.
selling this house. And when there's any sort of separation, divorce, death, whatever, someone like something is being taken out of their control. They are now losing their
Yeah.
home or, their home's being, let's say, taken away, but they are changing their home because of something that was not in their control. And that's really stressful and sad and scary for them. And yeah, managing that with people is tricky business.
Yeah, I have a friend who lost her husband a year ago. He died unexpectedly, 48 years old.
Mm.
They were mid-construction on the house. He was a
Mm.
realtor and he'd negotiated all kinds of things to get a better deal. So the builder was ticked off that he wasn't going to be there to help promote him like he'd promised. So
Yeah.
he wasn't kind of fulfilling his end of the deal.
Yeah.
And she didn't work. She was as traumatized as she could be, trying to take care of her daughter. And I'm just a friend coming over trying to help. How can we get this to get the CO? And do you want to even keep it? How are you going to pay the mortgage? He was also a rascal Italian guy who believed that everything should be in his name and no will, all this stuff. So she had to go through probate. Do you work with attorneys at all that deal with that
Yep.
scenario?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. I mean, because even back to your story about the wife in that case sabotaging the showings, like
Yeah.
there are some times where it gets really dirty and like a judge has to basically put on paper, like, this is how you're going to comply with the sale of this home. If you
Yes.
can't play nice in the sandbox, we're going to put some legalese in place to make sure you do it,
Yeah.
you know?
It's funny as we talk, I'm thinking of all the situations that I run into like this because
Yeah.
I had another couple, they weren't married, but they were co-owners on the house. And that was a $5 million house. And they had bought it, they had done all the decorations to match the unique design of the house. Well, before she listed with me, she went to her attorney and told the attorney that she wanted to draft something up, that I was going to be the realtor, that I was going to be the deciding person if there was a disagreement of what they needed to do with price reductions, repairs, all that stuff. And she got him to sign that and did some threatening things with him, which was, I don't care. That's not my piece, right? And so he signed it, and now I had it. And he picked the price of the house, and which I struggled with, but I left it at because I wanted to give him some feeling of input. And even it was off, but I got that price for him. I got a full price cash offer in 11 days.
Congratulations.
But
Jeez.
but then he did not want to do repairs and he was fighting me, and that's when that letter came into
Yep.
play.
Yep.
So it was non-negotiable. He had to agree. And actually he got a great house and she got another great house and they went on their way. But they were together probably 20 years. So even though they weren't married, it's not always a piece of paper.
No, for sure. And I think what you just said reminded me of another piece is that there's so many, and I'm going to super stereotype genders right now, but like in so many cases, the woman who is like surprised with a divorce has been the homemaker, the stay-at-home mom, the whatever, and he has been managing the finances, the real estate, the everything. And now she's like, I don't even know. I don't know what we have. I don't know how to do this. And so much of working with divorcing couples, particularly divorcing women, is just the education piece and
Yeah.
talking
Yeah.
through like, here's what it is. Here is how this is going to go. Here are the options you have, and empowering them to be decision makers by providing them information.
Right. I know I met this woman I don't know how I met her, but she is a financial planner who
Mhm.
works only with divorced women.
Yep. I have a couple of those in my arsenal too.
Yeah, which is really good that you've got that whole army and team. So I can't remember if we talked about this on our non-recorded one or now, but I wanted to talk about giving some advice to agents that are thinking that this might be a niche for them about personality styles, of being able to balance this, because this is not just one to pick up and run with. This is a difficult one.
Yeah. And I think there's two pieces there. I think the first is picking any niche, it's got to be something that you are passionate about, have an interest in. I know plenty of people who do probate and are super duper successful. Probate does not ring my bell. I'm not getting out of bed in the morning excited to do probate, right? And
Me.
so that's not my niche, but that's somebody else's. And
Mhm.
so I think if you do want to get into this niche, you've got to really think through, like, do I have a personal connection? Do I feel strongly about supporting people going through this? Like, what is my kind of background and expertise and knowledge in this area? And also, like, do you have the wherewithal to kind of push through the mud? Because there are going to be some
Yeah,
really crappy times. I mean, all of our transactions have some bumps in the road at times, but when you've got divorcing couples, emotions are running high,
yeah,
stress is everywhere. Being able to maintain your own composure and your neutrality and your energy and not getting, you've got that narcissistic husband and he gets you all fired up and not like don't let him see you sweat, as they say. And so,
yeah,
well, too, if you do want to get into this niche, like just maintain that calm exterior. You could be
yeah,
fired up on the inside, but like you've got to just, as a professional, just be calm and
yeah.
cool and collected.
And you mentioned you do a lot of meditation.
I do every morning, every night, and sometimes in the middle of the afternoon.
I get that. I get that. We also talked before about AI, and you did it too with your LinkedIn about just thinking outside the box. Go ahead and share that.
Yeah. I mean, so real estate's kind of a lonely business, right? You often are just you in your office at home by yourself. I am part of a team, but more often than not, I'm working by myself. And so I almost use AI as like a brainstorming partner.
Yeah.
So I knew when I launched the Breakup Broker last spring or last year, I wanted to start putting out some articles on LinkedIn about divorce and real estate and things like that. I'm like, I could sit here and brainstorm for like an hour about some topics I want to write about, or I can take 37 seconds and ask ChatGPT, and I'm going to have 10 to 15 topic ideas that I can just then write an article about. And so I really just often use it as like a thought partner or a brainstorming partner.
Mm-hmm. I use it as a like I did a 15-week article on Portugal because that's my love, and I want
But,
to do outgoing referrals to Portugal and build a business there.
mm,
So, so I said I need 15 articles about all the different aspects of wonderful things in Portugal. And so it gave me an outline. I said, okay, now, because it knows my style, because I designed it to know my style. I said,
yep,
okay, I want you to do a blog on it, and I'm going to name you Betty the blogger at the chat thing, because that
yep,
was before I could personalize them. So Betty, I said, Betty, here's your instructions. Here's the platform you're going to be putting it on. So at first it was just the blog on my website. And then I said, wait a minute, I could do an article on LinkedIn. So then I said, all right, modify that so that it goes over for a 3 to 5 minute read over here, and then do a synopsis, because for every article you have to do a post.
mhm,
And I said, then give me 4 picture ideas that I could use as a header. Then tell me where I can go get my pictures for free that I
yep,
could use. And I said, oh, wait a minute, I want to do an Instagram post. I'll use that picture, but the algorithm is different, and I'm going to need hashtags for that and the posts for LinkedIn, and each one may have different algorithms. And I want
mhm.
this all to be SEO strong,
Optimize,
and
yep,
give me the hook in the beginning on all these different components to pull them all in. And so I said, there's only 1,200 words allowed in Instagram. So do all that. So now it doesn't. I said, now, Betty, remember this formula, because I'm going to tell you each week that here's our topic. And now I want you to write the article and then do all the other components. And then I just go post. It's
yeah,
awesome.
hmm
That's rare. I mean,
Um,
the time saver is
it's
amazing.
Yeah, I think so many people are afraid, much like when computers came around, right? Like they're going to replace us. They're going to replace us. AI is not going to replace us. I feel strongly about that. It is going to enhance our ability to work smarter and faster.
Well, we just need to think bigger. Just like
Yeah.
you said, we do need to think bigger and stop just minimizing what it can do for us. So that's a
Yeah.
big deal. Well, listen,
I'm curious about Portugal real quick.
oh,
Do you want to move there?
I might have a home there.
Okay.
Yeah, but I'm building businesses all around the world
I
because
love it.
our company is global. We're in 27 countries now. Yeah,
Yep.
27 countries. So I love the idea of that.
Yeah.
And
I
Portugal's Always been.
Selfishly, I have an apartment in France, so I'm all about the European real estate investments.
Ooh, yeah, girl. Oh, I love it. I've got some friends that live in France that I've met because I'm going to these different conventions in different areas. I'll be
Love
in
it.
Portugal in June. So, well, thanks so much, Amy, for being on here. Really appreciate it. And
You
I
bet.
feel like lots of nuggets were found.
Awesome.
Okay, great. So if you like this, please subscribe to the channel, and we're going to have all of Amy's information so you can reach out to her. Remember, she's in Florida as well as in Massachusetts, so she can help, and she probably can do referrals all over the country, right?
Sure can.
And so anyway, stay tuned. Hope you loved it, and we'll see you on the next one.
Thanks so much, Kathy.
So now that'll end, and then you can jump off, and then
Okay.
I'm gonna do the intro to it, and then I'm gonna jump on to my next one.
Oh, goodness.
I gotta pee.
Oh,
Get the dogs out.
oh goodness
But
gracious.
thank you so much
Of
for
course.
understanding.
Thank you. Thank you.
So thanks for joining me on this episode of Real Estate Riches. Wasn't that great? I'm sure you got a nugget or two. I know I did. So if you liked it, please subscribe below, share it with everybody, make some comments. We really find that invaluable. And if you're thinking that you would love to talk about this a little bit more, let's schedule a business strategy call. I'll have the link below. Let's see if we can't mastermind together and see if we can empower each other. That would be great. So until next time, signing off. Hope to see you on the next one.